Everyone is born equally capable but lacks equal opportunity. If you give people the opportunity to do the right thing, you'll rarely be disappointed. If you can get over this initial distrust that people have of strangers, you can do remarkable things. My dad was a physician. As a kid, I remember driving around with him on weekends so he could do his rounds at the hospital and talk to patients. We'd spend time in the car talking about what was going on with them, their stories. When you have mass surveillance, it's impossible to meet the intent of the First Amendment because reporters can't talk to sources because sources are afraid to talk. A lot of people don't just go ahead and try things. What makes eBay successful, the real value and the real power at eBay is the community. It's the buyers and sellers coming together and forming a marketplace. Long-term sustainable change happens if people discover their own power. eBay's success as a company depends on the success of the community of sellers. I do like to fly under the radar. When I walk around town, the only people I want to recognize me and call me by my name are the folks at Starbucks. In 1991, I co-founded my first startup, Ink Development, which made software for an early tablet computer. In order to access private capital, you have to provide competitive return on investment. In order to give competitive returns to investors, you've got to operate on a profitable basis and be thinking of yourself as a business. As a philanthropist, I try to help people take ownership. Everything I've done is rooted in the notion that every human being is born equally capable. What people lack is equal opportunity. I developed an interest in supporting independent journalists in a way that leverages their work to the greatest extent possible, all in support of the public interest. News organizations that have been around a while have a lot of traditions and ways of doing things that may have served them for many years but perhaps make them less flexible in the digital era. As an entrepreneur, it just makes more sense to start something new. Technologists come at a problem from the point of view that the system is working a certain way, and if I engage in that system and actually change the rules of the system, I can make it work a different way. I had always been interested in markets, specifically the theory that in financial markets, goods will trade at a fair value only when everyone has access to the same information. In February of 1996, about 6 months after I created eBay, I started receiving a spate of complaints. Everyone was complaining about each other. I felt very much like I was a parent who had to adjudicate the brothers beating each other up. I'm a technologist by origin and by training, but I'm focused on philanthropy. Advertisers don't want to put their ads next to the investigative story. It's extremely difficult to do that, and very few people today actually read those serious news stories on the web now. When I started eBay, it was a hobby, an experiment to see if people could use the internet to be empowered through access to an efficient market. I actually wasn't thinking about it in terms of a social impact. eBay's business is based on enabling someone to do business with another person, and to do that, they first have to develop some measure of trust, either in the other person or the system. What I'm really focused on is connecting people around shared interests, so together they can make good stuff happen. I'm more focused on helping people discover their power as individuals, but through those connections with one another. I had the notion that, okay, so now we have all of this wealth, we could buy not only one expensive car, we could buy all of them. As soon as you realize that you could buy all of them, then none of them are particularly interesting or satisfying. You can invest in companies, you can help grow companies, you can be a venture capitalist and be a philanthropist at the same time. In the same way that you're driven in your business to keep innovating, Facebook is a wonderful example of constant innovation. Think about doing that in philanthropy. My parents made me believe I could do anything I wanted to do. They were really into empowering me. In terms of my belief that one individual can make a difference, that belief comes from my parents. A well-functioning microfinance bank can actually be a profitable business as well. So it became a perfect proof point that, through business, you can provide an experience that leads to individual self-empowerment. Microfinance initiatives are very high-touch models. The loan officer meets with local groups of borrowers every week. They share tips and techniques. There's a lot of training and learning that goes on, which adds to the cost of the model. In the early days of eBay, I articulated for the very first time this belief that people are basically good. Companies in Silicon Valley invest a lot in understanding their users and what drives user engagement. I have always been of the opinion that the right kind of journalism is a critical part of our democracy. Thanks for watching. Like and subscribe.